Yes, sir. Welcome back to another Chop or Die film session. I am your host of the Chop or Die podcast, Mual, Jamal Force. And listen, man, on this episode, we about to break down Luke McCaffrey, receiver out of Rice, man. I think for Washington fans, this one is going to be interesting because we all knew that they needed some receiver help, whether it be tight end or whether it be receiver, early on in the draft to help out their future quarterback, which happened to be Jaden Daniels. And for a lot of people, Luke wasn't necessarily the target that they were expecting. Same with me, but we are here and we're able to tap into the tape. I've watched some things, and I think for Washington, one of the things that stands out is potential. Obviously, the name in itself has pedigree, but at the same time, we're talking about a player who is only 2 years into the position and is growing in front of our eyes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the film session. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's see what Luke McCaffrey is talking about. Let's go. All right, so let's start with what Luke is elite at. And I think traits are important. Let's not sit here and say that he's going to be a elite receiver on the next level, right? We're talking about traits that helps a receiver on the next level in terms of their projection, right? Some things that he does really well and what stands out, right? And I think for Luke, as you look at the slot receiver at the bottom of your screen near that 30-yard line marker, right, is what he does at the catch point. He's an elite receiver in terms of his concentration. He has good body control, which allows him to make certain type of adjustments at the catch point. But being able to hold on to that, taking that big hit right there, right? That is concentration. That is toughness. That is a level of competitiveness that you don't get from a lot of receivers, especially on over the shoulder, where you actually are feeling that defender closing in on you in the manner in which they did just there. All right, here we go again. First off, I think this is probably the best catch that I've seen from Luke McCaffrey. I think the biggest thing, I don't even think you saw it from this angle, but I think the biggest thing with Luke is there's this mentality that every single pass that is in the air that's near me, it's mine, and it's not going to be yours at all, so long as the ball is in the air, right, and it's up for grabs. So again, we're talking about body control, right? His competitiveness, his toughness, like fighting for the football up until you hit the ground. Like it's forever going to be his in his mind, right? It's always going to be mine. Taking the ball away with one hand, by the way, right? Like he's fighting with one hand, trying to control himself as he turns around with a ball that's kind of behind him in this instance, right? And snatches it from the DB for a touchdown. That's as big as it gets. All right, another example, just understanding his dexterity, right? His hand-eye coordination, everything that he can do at the catch point to win a rep. Now you're seeing a receiver right here who's isolated on the boundary, or excuse me, the field side, not necessarily the boundary, but he's able to get past him with his initial move. This is a soft press, I would say, somewhat of a soft press, right? He's able to accelerate and get upfield. The good thing is that it's a one-on-one and there's not really nobody out there over top of them. So he has plenty of space to work with. So it's really just a foot race. And the ball was a little bit inside, but you also see at the same time, he's not creating that much separation as he is into his route phase, right? But it doesn't matter for Luke. He's able to get that one hand out. Let's kind of view it from this way. That one hand out, the eyes never leave the football. His tracking is really good. And generally that's what you get from Luke, is that ability at the catch point to compete for every single pass that's in this area, right? And that ball security on the ground is magnificent. All right, you see it again right here. Another thing, not creating much separation, but it doesn't matter for him. Just a one hand over the shoulder attempt, right? Being able to adjust to that. Hell of a play from Luke. One thing, again, we talk about his body control and his toughness. This is another example. This is a 3rd and 20 or 2nd and 20 for Rice, right? And you're talking about a person who, while he's in a zone, right, he's kind of susceptible to a big hit the way the quarterback is leading him. At the same time, a receiver that's extending above his frame, leaving his feet, willing to leave his feet for this pass, right? This is a moment of courage. Like, you either got it or you don't. I'm going to go up and get this ball, take this hit, and secure it right? Make sure that I have necessary grip strength to hold on tight, because I know I'm about to take a hit, right? But also you'll see it from this angle as well. Taking a big hit, a rib shot, essentially exposing yourself, like that toughness and the ability to adjust, whether it's above your frame for a high pass, whether it's extending away from your frame with your arms up, right? Being able to get it at its highest point. So many different things that he does at the catch point that is impressive, right? And that's really good. Another thing that's worth noting, even when we're talking about at the catch point and how he plays there, it doesn't just stop there in terms of his competitiveness. Like it's from start to finish in terms of how he executes a play in the passing game. Right now you're seeing Luke from the slot near that 30-yard line, left hash, right? Breaking in on the slant, but his quarterback is getting pressured, right? And obviously the scramble drill asks you to create after the play. So having that processing ability, pretty sure being a former quarterback helps, but he sees that his quarterback is in trouble, but he escapes the sack. The first thing he does, it shows some subtle quickness, right? Being able to dip and get back outside and show his numbers to the quarterback. Takes another hit, but at the same time, the point is the processing aspect, right? Being able to be smart enough in this moment to reverse field and create an opportunity for your quarterback. One thing that I think he'll have to continue working on is how he releases against press. And again, when we talk about traits, like I think there's things there for Washington to build on. And I think these are one of the examples because he wins in this instance, right? Like showing that diamond release, being able to open up the defender's hips before getting back inside as quickly as possible on that slant route, which is pretty good. All right, that's a really good rep for Luke. The thing is, he's not necessarily doing this on a consistent basis, but you see some flashes, and if they show flashes, right, that is potential, and that is a person who's capable of doing this so long as he gets the reps, so long as he gets the resources to learn how to do this better and develop his toolbox. All right, so here he is again, bottom of your screen in the slot position, right, a soft press situation where he's going to have to close that space, right? He's using that foot fire technique in a sense. Just being able to gather and get information before he breaks inside. And that quickness is able to get him that separation, and understanding that the middle of the field is wide open also helps too. So that's really good processing from Luke, but also you see that he does have some release techniques in his toolbox to create separation. All right, so another thing that he's able to do, we talked about what he can do at the line of scrimmage. We also talked about what he can do at the catch point sometimes, but he also shown some traits where he can manipulate defenders' hips, right? Like he has an off coverage situation here where his nearest defender is essentially within 10 yards away from him off the line of scrimmage, but he's running like this corner route, right? But you see like his athleticism in terms of how he's able to accelerate to close that space, right? And close that cushion, but also quickly changing directions at that break point and getting right back outside, creating 5 to 6 yards of separation. Obviously the ball didn't go to him, but you kind of see the goal here, right? Being able to get open, you're facing inside leverage, which also helps your case because now you're talking about a person who's already out leveraged, especially since you're breaking back outside, but you see his ability to create that further separation at the break point and knowing that he's aware of which leverage that guy is playing. All right, so another one, we're talking about a slot position. Now, again, bottom of your screen or left side of your screen, and he's facing soft coverage again, basically a squat defender, but you see the burst, and I kind of interrupted the play, but you're going to see the burst from him on this slot fade, just blowing right past the defender. Now, granted, the ball was a little late, so now he's forced to make a contested catch. But you see his adjust, right? Being able to turn, but also hold on to the football in that situation is really good. So let's kind of look at it from this point again, just so you can see the separation part, right? As soon as he plants that foot, he gets upfield, like he blows past him. Just a late pass, that's all. But he made his quarterback right. So again, you're going to see another rep here for Luke at the break point, right? Just being able to create some separation. And that hesitation right there was big to get open, right? Obviously, it looks like if you see from this zone, the defender only has eyes on the quarterback at this point. But that separation starts when the defender tries to bite on what he believes Luke is breaking out or in. So his eyes never really goes to Luke, but you kind of see the hesitation and how that helps when the quarterback is looking his way already. It influences the DB. but then you're finishing the play with a huge hit, but maintaining possession of the football, which is pretty good. And obviously you see his toughness on display once again. So if there's one thing that I would like to just put on display for Luke, is we talked about his release plan against press. Like, he's shown traits or signs that he can develop there. We don't have to go into a deep dive of that, but I do want to show an example of like how he performs on the boundary. If he's going to get some boundary reps, he has to start developing, which I'm sure he will, the red line awareness, right? Like, once you're able to get past his defender at the line of scrimmage, granted, you know, he's doing a solid job of fighting through pressure, but also you got to try and work your way back over and stack that defender, right? Like, when you go towards the line and not try to get back in position, you know, you make a much more difficult target for your quarterback, because he can only hit you in one area, and that's towards the white line, the white boundary. So you got to try and get back over to help yourself out, but also help your quarterback out, give him some leeway in case there is an off-target pass. So yeah, those are just some quick highlights on Luke and tapping into some of the things that he does well. Obviously, what we see is an athlete, a competitor, right, who is fighting for every single football that's in the air that's his. I think you see the elite concentration. You see dexterity in terms of how he's able to really reel in passes with one hand. He doesn't need to if his other hand is occupied by the defender. He shows a willingness over the middle, all three levels to go attack a football. Shows that toughness that you need. Some other things in areas that we didn't really tap into in terms of a full dive is just his ability to process zone. He's a smart receiver. He can get open in that aspect. He needs some development in terms of just understanding how to be cleaner at the line of scrimmage. He does run a lot of his routes full speed. And so what I mean by that is just understanding there's a tempo to things, but there are also some times where you can put some pressure on defenders by running your route full speed, so long as you get in and out of your breaks cleanly, right? So I think Luke for Washington is a very good developmental player. I think that you can play him right away. I just think over time, this is probably a long-term play where you're hoping that Luke ends up being a person you can play outside, a person that you can play inside. You can move him around and have him play 3 different positions at the receiver spot. It depends on Luke, but I think banking on Luke and understanding where he is after 2 years of playing receiver, he has a solid toolbox. Just has to get better with his route tempo. He has to get better with his release plans. He has to use his hands a little bit more at the line of scrimmage to beat the jam, to beat those handsy defenders who are really quick with their hands and really quick with shooting them, and really good in press overall. I think he'll be in good shape. That's kind of where I'm at with Luke. I think that there's something there. I see it same way I seen it with Brandon Coleman, but we'll see if Luke can really show that they made the right decision. But yeah, we'll see. Y'all let me know what y'all think about Luke, or what you thought about him before the draft and what you think about him after this breakdown. But that's gonna wrap it up for me. Hit that like button again, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you tuning in, and until next time, peace.
Chop it down, chop it down, you gon' chop it down. Chop it down, you gon' chop it down. Damn, set, watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.